Capes on the Couch podcast is for entertainment purposes only. Dr. Issues is a psychiatrist, but he is not your psychiatrist and does not have knowledge of your individual situation. For any personal mental health concerns, please consult your own healthcare providers. For medical emergencies, please call 911 or the designated number in your area immediately. Remember that you are not alone and help is out there.
Hello and welcome back to Capes on the Couch, where comics need counseling. I'm Anthony Sitko, joined once again by my good friend, the esteemed Dr. Issues.
Hello, everyone, and it feels so good to be back.
It really does. The summer vacation, I hope, was good to all of you. It certainly meant a lot of things for me personally. We are in a new studio in my house that I own now. It still feels very weird to say that I am a homeowner. I still can't kind of wrap my head around it.
And just so everyone knows, we made sure that Anthony had just enough Moon Knight to continue to cover every space possible in the studio.
Yeah, we don't have all of the furniture in here yet. This is the office in my new house, and we're still in the process of unloading boxes and unpacking things. So we're going to get a little more furniture in here that will hopefully help deaden some of the sound, because there's hardwood floors throughout the house. They're beautiful, but it's very bouncy from an acoustic standpoint. So we'll get some furniture in here, maybe a little area rug, and that should hopefully take out some of the echo. And I think I still have one more piece of Moon Knight artwork that I still have to hang, but I did do, a good job in getting most of it hung already.
Yep, we know your motto is you can never get enough Moon Knight.
Nope, absolutely not.
Unless you're a regular human being.
Or unless he's being written by Max Bemis. So I guess this is season 2 of Capes on the Couch. I kind of never really envisioned that we were going to do seasons on this show, but we did 20 issues and then we took the break. So I guess it basically worked out to almost a television season worth of episodes, and the summer hiatus came at an opportune point.
Yeah, I mean, think of it, comic book catalog, now we can just hard bind that thing and milk some more money out of it.
There we go. That was the first trade. Now we're on to volume 2. Or do we want to be like Marvel and just reboot with a brand new number 1 in an effort to gain more listeners, sales? I don't know how that works.
Well, I remember the first thing I said was they hadn't rebooted me yet.
There you go. That is true. And you can check out all of our old episodes on our website, capesonthecouch.live. As always, we are distributed through the Libsyn Network, and you can find our shows on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, YouTube, and the iHeartRadio Network. So this is overall issue 21, the first issue of season 2, as it were. And we've got some minor tweaks and changes that we made that we discussed during the hiatus. And we certainly hope that you will enjoy some of the things that we are looking to do for the show moving forward. The first thing that we want to announce is for our October 3rd episode, we're going to have our first ever listener poll where you, the listeners, decide which character we will analyze. And since it lines up perfectly with the Walking Dead season 9 premiere, which starts the following Sunday, we are going to ask you, the listeners, which Walking Dead character should we do? Will it be Rick Grimes, Negan, or the Governor? So we will have that link on our website, capesonthecouch.live, as well as posted on our Facebook and Twitter pages, and you can decide which character will we cover.
I like to rephrase it. It's, why would you choose someone other than Negan?
I don't know. I just feel like Comics Rick, to me, is a very compelling character, and I just feel that he's more interesting, certainly more interesting, I think, than the TV counterpart. I stopped watching after season 1, but I just feel like Comics Rick has a little more nuance, and there's a stronger progression in his character arc, and I feel that he goes through a better ringer. Not to say the TV Rick hasn't gone through the ringer, at least from the recaps that I've read, but Comics Rick, to me, just seems to have better overall motivation, just seems to be a better character overall than TV Rick. So if it were me, I would pick Comics Rick, but I'm not trying to influence the vote. I'm not Russian. Yeah, that's right. I went there.
That's fine. That's fine. I'm not trying to influence the vote either, but I would point out since I'm a rational human being, I love the idea of a vote. But because I also say I want to do Negan, I want to rip your throat out. So, I think we can come to some sort of compromise and say we will honor the poll itself. Don't worry, people. We're not trying to really skew anything. Seriously, I love all these characters. I love the Walking Dead comic way more than the TV show. Oh, my goodness. I don't know what kind of feedback we're going to get about that. But in any case, it's interesting. We're doing all this intro for down the road. People don't even know what we're doing right now.
Right. So this week's episode is Typhoid Mary, since Alice Eve is going to be portraying the character in Iron Fist Season 2, which comes out this Friday. We thought it was a good opportunity to take a look at the character, even though she's not really known as an Iron Fist protagonist. I'm curious to see why they selected her for the show, but we'll get into that when we talk about the character proper. But just to give you a little heads up about what we have coming up. So this week is Typhoid Mary. Next week is Spawn, which is selected by Brian, one of our president level patrons. And you can subscribe to our Patreon page at patreon.com/capes on the couch. You can pledge at the $1, $3, $5, and $10 levels. $1 gets you a shout out. $3 gets you early access to the downloads, as well as you can download a monthly blooper reel. $5 gets you access to a longer uncensored version of the episode, including a uncut version of the skit that we do every week, as well as any questions that you have about the characters. We guarantee we will answer. And if you are a $10 level patron like Brian or our friend Matt, you can pick one character a month for us to do, and we will answer any questions that you have about that character. So we have one more president level patron slot available. So moving forward, another thing that we want to announce for season 2, quote unquote, is if we reach $50 a month in our patrons, we will begin live streaming our episodes. We will open it up and we'll let you know in advance when we're going to be broadcasting and recording our episodes. And so you can get a little in-depth look at what it is like to write and record one of these episodes. And you can see all of the stuff that goes into it, and you can see bloopers because God, there's so many bloopers. And as well as we'll have a forum, like a little chat room that you can talk to us while we're recording the episodes. And you can ask us questions like, why is your shirt so ugly? Or Anthony, why do you have so many Moon Knight pictures on your wall? Anything that you can think of. Why are you so good looking? I mean, hey, they know what we sound like, but they don't know what we look like.
That's true. That's true. Also, if anybody has, random mental health questions, sociology even, we're very well-rounded human beings.
I'm a little more well-rounded than I'd like to be right now. I'm trying to lose some of that well-roundedness.
Womp, womp, womp. But what I mean by that is I'd actually classify Anthony as a polymath, even if he doesn't think of himself that way. So, feel free. Especially during a stream, anything that comes to mind, we'll try and answer for you.
So the live streaming will be unlocked at the $50 level. And again, you can go to our website, patreon.com/capes on the couch, and you can sign up there. And we'll maybe post the videos of the live streams on YouTube afterwards, depending on, if they're safe for work or not. Or maybe we'll just say screw it and we'll share them anyway. In addition to the live streaming, this is not a Patreon thing, but we're going to have weekly write-ups. Doc is going to do a little piece on each character that we do every week. Maybe professional, maybe not, may just be thoughts on the character, some things that we didn't touch on during the episode or discussions that we didn't get a chance to have. And so that's mostly going to be Doc. I will contribute if it's a character that I feel like I have something to say. So that's going to be something you'll see, and that will be posted on our website, but we'll also share it through the Facebook and Twitter pages. The last thing I want to discuss before we get into Typhoid Mary, and I know we've dragged this out long enough, and I do apologize for that, but one last thing, it's very important that I bring this up. There is a charity that I've been involved with for about 8 years now, and it's called Extra Life, and it raises money for Children's Miracle Network and their affiliated hospitals through video games. And the way that I see it is if I can play video games for something other than just getting achievements or a high score, that's going to make me feel better about myself. And so it's been going on for, I think this is its 10th year. It's my 8th year being involved. And my fundraising goal is $5,000. But before I get 5,000, I have to reach 1,000. So my goal for the month of September is to raise $1,000. And my incentive to you, the listeners, to donate to me is if I raise that $1,000 in the month of September, I will shave my head. And if I do it soon enough, I will live stream the shaving somewhere on either Facebook or Instagram or YouTube. I haven't quite figured that out yet. So my challenge to you is I will post the links to my fundraising page on the website and on the Facebook and Twitter. But if you go to Extra Life, the Extra Life website, extra-life.org, and you do a search for my name, Anthony Sitko, Sytko, you can find the page there. And all of your donation proceeds go directly to benefit Children's Specialized Hospital. That's the Children's Miracle Network affiliate in New Jersey. And I've been volunteering for Children's Specialized since I was in high school. And it is a truly humbling experience to go there and to see the work that is done with the kids by the doctors and nurses and the volunteers that are there to help these kids, whether it's something they had since they were born with, or they suffered an accident later on that caused some sort of issue. They do amazing work, and it is truly awe-inspiring. Their main hospital is in New Brunswick, but there are 13 locations across North and Central New Jersey. So it's very meaningful for me to give back to them every year. And this is how I do that. So I'm asking you, the listeners, to please make a donation to the page. And if it results in me shaving my head, that's the least I can do to get some incentive to get the funds needed to help these kids.
I have two brief thoughts. First, let's recognize that this man is spending time talking about comic books on a podcast and then works for a charity that involves playing video games. This is what you call hacking life. This is true life hacking. I commend you, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Second thing, you people don't realize how big a step this is regarding shaving his head. He has obsessed about having hair for the longest time, ever since I can remember. Be it the right color, be it the amount, he has always been vain about it. So for him to take this step after the fact that right now he has like the most awesome hair for him that I could imagine. I'm not saying that as a joke. I mean that. This is humongous. So if people are willing to do things for children just so that you can shave your head, I'm all for it.
Thank you, Doc. Sincerely, I appreciate that, both the kind words about my hair and also just the support for the charity. Yes, my hair is kind of a vain spot for me, but as I've gotten older, I've come to lessen that and just, appreciate what it is that I have and not fuss about it so much. My wife helps. She likes it the way that it is. So I don't stress about it too much, but I'm willing to forego that if it's all for the kids, and for the kids is one of the big Extra Life hashtags, hashtag for the kids, hashtag FTK. So that is what it's all about. So we beat around the bush long enough. Let's get into the episode proper. Our listeners didn't download this episode so they could hear me talk about my hair. Mary Walker. Typhoid Mary, to me, a very interesting and compelling character. She was created by Ann Nocenti and John Romita Jr. in Daredevil number 254 in May of 1988. And she has largely throughout her history been associated with Daredevil and a little bit of Deadpool, which is why I'm kind of surprised that they're introducing her in Iron Fist.
Oh, I know why. It's because you need an interesting character in Iron Fist.
You have an interesting character in Iron Fist, and her name is Colleen Wing.
That's fine. I'm saying this as a very jaded person. I did not like the first season of Iron Fist.
Nobody did.
Okay, then. We've established this. All right, as long as everyone understands why they'd go ahead and just think outside the box.
Listen, Danny Rand's one appearance in Luke Cage Season 2 was way more compelling of a character than his entire first season in Iron Fist and the entire run of The Defenders.
Well, he is the mighty Iron Fist.
The immortal Iron Fist, protector of Kunlun and sworn enemy of the Hand.
Which is why I made sure I got it wrong. Because I could picture... I'm serious. That's how annoying it was to hear it over and over again. It's like, did we get it the first 20 times? I think we did.
And now he's going to use that immortal Iron Fist to punch through Mary Walker, played by Alice Eve, who, on a side note, I don't know, maybe it's just me. There's something about her hair and the way that they're making her look. She looks like too much like Rachel Taylor, who plays Trish Walker. And again, I know it may sound crazy, whatever, but and maybe it's just me, but she looks like she could be Trish Walker's sister. On a side note, though, I hope they do something with Alice Eve's heterochromia, because I think that would be really awesome, because Alice Eve has natural heterochromia.
That's a good point.
If they're smart, they'll play into that. Heterochromia, by the way, is having two separate eye colors.
Yep.
And so I think they'll play into that with the character of Typhoid Mary. So Typhoid Mary, Mary Walker, has multiple personalities.
What? This again? That's it. I'm out of here.
I know. We've done how many characters with multiple personalities, but I mean, it's a trope. It's a common comic book trope.
Yes.
And so, lazy or not, that's how the character was created. That's how the character's written. That's what we're going to roll with. So Mary Walker, as we said, has multiple personalities. Mary is weak, sickly. She suffers from epilepsy. She's very mousy, meek. Typhoid is impulsive. She's lustful. Dare I say, hypersexual. Typhoid also has some abilities. She has some low-level telekinesis, and she has some psionic abilities. She can influence you, manipulate your thoughts and your actions to her ends. She usually uses this to seduce and manipulate men. So she gets hired by the Kingpin for her dual abilities, because Kingpin at this point knows that Daredevil is Matt Murdock. He knows who he is. And if I'm not mistaken, this follows the Born Again Man Without Fear, in which Daredevil brought down Wilson Fisk. So he's returned. He's had his revenge, and now Fisk wants to break Daredevil down once again. So he hires Mary for her dual abilities. He wants Mary to seduce Matt Murdock, and he wants Typhoid to battle Daredevil, but not kill him. She's not supposed to kill him. She's just supposed to, leave him within an inch of his life and utterly break him down. So Typhoid also kind of seduces Kingpin. It's not really clear exactly how much of it is her influence and exactly to what extent they have a relationship. But the thing is that Typhoid can't really control Kingpin all that well, because he beats her, slaps her repeatedly. It's kind of like BDSM. It's BDSM like 50 Shades of Grey is BDSM. Like, it's not really representative of a true dom-sub relationship. I have friends that live the dom-sub lifestyle, and they are not fond of the 50 Shades of Grey book or movie.
Did you hear that? I think that was about 80% of our female audience just turning off the podcast. Thanks a lot.
I'm sorry. Listen, it is what it is. So Mary works on Matt because that's her job. So Matt, by the way, is living with Karen Page at this point. So Mary is trying to get in with Matt. So she uses this blind kid named Tyrone that Matt is helping to defend. That's her in. She's working over Matt because Catholic guilt like a mother. That's who Matt Murdock is. So he feels guilty. He knows it's wrong to fall in love with Mary, but he sort of, falls for her anyway. And then in the meantime, Typhoid ends up going kind of the Nightfall route on Daredevil, which is to say she hires a whole bunch of goons to attack Daredevil one by one until he's exhausted and beaten down. And then she's going to deliver the killing blow, which kind of pisses off Kingpin because everybody thinks that Daredevil is actually dead. He's not. He's just sort of laying underneath a bridge. And then Mary finds him because somehow she manages to take over, and she saves him and brings him to the hospital. And then so he comes back. So then later on, we discover that there is a third personality to Mary Walker, and this one is known as Bloody Mary. And she is sort of a sadistic man-hater who kills any man who is accused of domestic violence or domestic abuse.
Yeah. Also, want to point out, it should be very clear from the names because they were deliberate, but Typhoid Mary refers to a woman that spread a disease that is really bad. I'm not going to waste your time in terms of talking about the details of that. Also, Bloody Mary is based on the myth that...
Delicious drink?
I wish. Seriously, that would be way better, in all honesty. But no, it's based on the myth that if you turn off the lights and say Bloody Mary, what is it, 3 times in a mirror?
3 times in a mirror.
Yeah, then she'll appear. And
that only works with Biggie Smalls.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay, so if anybody...
Listen, it's been a while. I haven't made a South Park reference in eons, okay?
If anybody thought we were going to change the quips and the puns and all of that, you're sadly mistaken.
Nope. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I don't know whether or not we're actually broken, but I have no intention of changing. Anyway, so then Mary has apparently taken over as the dominant personality. Mary becomes friends with Mary Jane Watson. I don't remember if it's Mary that meets up with Spider-Man or Peter Parker. I think it may be Peter Parker, and she's very frightened, etc. And so Peter says to her, I know who can help you, my wife. You guys can chat, you can have a girls' night, etc. So Mary contacts Mary Jane. Mary Jane says, oh, I'll host, etc. And then Typhoid shows up and scares the crap out of Mary Jane. And then Typhoid and Bloody Mary are fighting Spider-Man. But eventually, Mary regains control, and then she goes and gets treatment.
Yay!
Except it doesn't quite work out. So while she's in the institution, each personality hires a mercenary. Mary hires Deadpool to kill her. Typhoid hires Deadpool to break her out. And Bloody Mary hires the vamp / animus to break her out for a killing spree, because that's who you want to rely on. A villain who hasn't shown up since a random Captain America issue since, I think, the 70s.
It's weird. It's a one-person version, like, weird way of sex, marry, kill. I don't want to say the real way you say that.
Yeah, and the thing that I find interesting is Mary hires Deadpool to kill her because she can't commit suicide. I think it's akin to Bruce Banner not really being able to commit suicide because, you know, like in the Avengers, I put a bullet in my mouth and the other guy spit it out. If Mary tries to commit suicide, Typhoid will show up, will take control and stop her, because Typhoid obviously doesn't want to kill herself. She's having way too much fun just living life and screwing whoever she wants to and doing whatever it is that she wants with no repercussions, or at the very least, no concern for the repercussions.
Yeah.
So Typhoid joins up with Deadpool because that's the kind of person that he can relate to.
And if you want to know more about Deadpool, listen to that episode. Mind you, keep the kiddos away from that. My goodness.
Yeah, that one was definitely not safe for work. So Typhoid joins Deadpool, and they have a semi-romantic relationship until he tries to reform her because she's too crazy for him. Think about that. Too crazy for Deadpool. Stick that in your pipe and smoke it. So he tries to get her on the straight and narrow, and she's not having any of it. So she makes him think that she's Siren. She sleeps with him and then throws him out the window.
Hey, you know, sometimes you just gotta do the flight of shame. I mean, I don't know exactly how that goes.
I don't either. I don't think it works quite that way. So anyway, so she gets captured, and then she gets sent to the raft where she breaks out in Electro's breakout. And so then she escapes along with the rest of the villains that are in the raft.
Which also includes Sentry being broken out. And you can find out about Sentry in that previous episode. I'm getting better at this stuff.
You're just throwing in all the plugs this week to all the old episodes. I appreciate it, man. It makes my life a lot easier. So anyway, so she breaks out of the raft and she's working for Kingpin again. Then she joins the Shadow Initiative program. This is post-Civil War. She joins the Shadow Initiative program as Mutant Zero, and she's wearing a mask so no one knows who she is initially. And she's working for Henry Peter Gyrich, who I've mentioned previously I love as a character. And then she's outed by Taskmaster, who's also on the team. And I also love Taskmaster. And he's like, wait a minute, I know that body language. Let's have a fight. And so he starts fighting, goes, I know that style. He breaks the mask, rips it off, and reveals it's Mutant Zero. I mean, reveals it's Typhoid Mary.
For the people that don't know why that would work, Taskmaster's ability is that he can recall instantly anyone's fighting style and reproduce it. So he has his own situation there with how it replaces other memories for him. But yeah, you know, potential future episode, whatever.
I would love to do Taskmaster because, as I said, he's a guy that I like. And I also think that his skill set is very fascinating. And just, I love the way that they do it in the comics. They do it way better than they did it in Heroes.
Yeah. Oh, and something else with Mutant Zero, the reason why they would refer to it as that, if you have Patient Zero with an epidemic or pandemic, it means that that's the person that led to everything else happening, which is fitting if you have something like Typhoid Mary, who is the woman responsible for an illness. Hey, that's some pretty good writing. Whoever does that, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it was pretty solid. I mean, I had to go back and reread it. I wasn't reading the Civil War story as it was happening that thoroughly, so I had to go back and reread some of these books. The research on this character has been a lot of fun. So then after Civil War comes Shadowland, which is a story that I happen to know well because it involves a lot of the street level heroes, mainly Moon Knight. And on a side note, it wasn't the main Shadowland story that bothered me. It was the Shadowland Moon Knight tie-in. They go through this whole thing where Moon Knight has to discover this mythical crescent because it's the only thing that can defeat the Hand. And then he wastes it on killing his brother. And then it's never mentioned in the main storyline, the main storyline of Shadowland after that. So the entire Moon Knight tie-in is just one giant shaggy dog story. But I digress. So in Shadowland, Typhoid Mary joins the Hand, and she's fighting alongside Daredevil, who's really under the control of the Beast of the Hand. And then once it's all over and Matt has been defeated, she reports to Kingpin, who uses a couple of code words to reveal that he's actually been controlling her all along as a double agent, and she didn't know it. Then she joins Lady Deathstrike, puts together a sisterhood of mutants, not a brotherhood of mutants, but a sisterhood of mutants. And she joins up with Enchantress to take down the X-Men, but then she gets defeated by Psylocke.
Wait, Psylocke, isn't that the one that has the psychic abilities because she took over another Enough with the multiple personalities.
Well, it's funny because like just this past week or 2 weeks ago, whatever, they put Psylocke back in her original Caucasian body. And that was a whole big thing because, you know, back however many years ago, she took over the body of, I think Kwannon was the Japanese woman that Betsy Braddock, her spirit, mind, whatever was within the body of a Japanese woman. And now they gave it back to Betsy Braddock. So now she looks Caucasian again, and Kwannon has her own body, but that also creates a whole bunch of issues because now they're basically just saying, oh yeah, and Kwannon is there, but they've disregarded her. I understand that they were trying to do something, or they were trying to correct what was a racially problematic stance. I just don't know how well they've thought it through. And maybe there's going to be more stuff coming later on down the story that we don't know about yet. But I mean, like that just happened like within the last like 2 weeks. And then maybe at a future episode, we can discuss Psylocke, Betsy Braddock, and the focused totality of her psychic abilities, or whatever phrase it was that Claremont had to use like once an episode or once an issue.
I apologize ahead of time, people. I may be under the influence of an adult beverage that day. Okay. Ooh.
What, you don't have a thing for purple thong-clad ninjas?
You know, that's going to end up a soundbite on YouTube if anyone wants to isolate that particular statement.
So that was the background for Typhoid Mary. Let's get into the issues. Now, we've discussed multiple personalities on the show ad nauseum. We're not going to revisit that. Let's instead focus on the issues of each individual personality. Let's do that.
Yes.
So Mary is weak and she's sickly. It's referenced at one point that she often suffers from epileptic seizures. But the thing is that she gets healed and she's not sick when typhoid takes over. And then Mary ends up guilt-ridden and occasionally suicidal because depending on the run, she's aware or not aware of what it is that typhoid does. But I find it interesting that she gets healed when typhoid takes over. So, Doc, if you want to talk about that from a psychological as well as a physiological standpoint.
Okay. So there's something called the sick roll. And what that refers to is regardless of if a person is physically ill or not, they're able to take advantage of the fact that they're sick. What on earth could that possibly mean? In this case, it's referring to the fact that what do you do when someone is sick? You take care of them. What does the care look like? It looks like attention. It looks like basic needs being met without any extra effort. It looks like people are able to establish relationships without extra energy on the part of the person that's receiving the care. All of those things can be quite charming, quite pleasing to the person that's getting them.
And they can be manipulated by the person giving them, which leads to Munchausen's by proxy. But that's a whole other thing. We could go off on that.
You're absolutely right. In this case, though, she really does have physical illness. So there's a balancing act there. Yes, you want to make sure that the person gets better, but you also don't want to get to the point where you are making the person a complete invalid when they don't have to be. And this may do with her previous experiences in life. I believe you mentioned how Deadpool was thrown out of a window. Mary was thrown out of a window. That is in one of the stories. I don't remember which one.
Right. That's actually referenced, I think, the first time she met Daredevil. I believe she was in a brothel.
Right.
Right. And he went in to try and rescue the women in the brothel, and there was brouhaha, and that's when Mary ended up out of the window. And that's where I apologize. I forgot to mention that during the background. That's when Typhoid shows up for the first time. That's when her powers appear and manifest for the first time, is that incident. And that's when she becomes, quote unquote, Typhoid. That was in I believe the Daredevil Deadpool annual. I want to say like 97, 98, somewhere around there.
Right. So what that means is at some point I had something inflicted upon me, and either because of circumstance or because of choice, unfortunately, some people it is choice, nothing could be done about it. Or I didn't get the outcome I wanted. I did notice later on that, hey, people cared about me. So that's good. I'm purposely exaggerating the fact that, no, it's not good. But in the person's mind, they've created a benefit. And that's why they would go this route. So Mary sets that up perfectly, but you can't get progress that way in life. You're going to permanently be stuck if you're constantly in that sick role. By definition, you can't have goals and aspirations above and beyond someone just take care of me and do everything. And that's not usually how humans operate. Humans have other goals usually. So it becomes a very limited role. So you're going to need something or someone to step in at some point and say, do something else, do anything. And yes, they went down the multiple personalities route. In real life, you could say this would be a family member. This could be a mentor. This could be a teacher. This could be a coworker, whatever the case may be. Someone usually points out to the person what's going on, and it's up to them to say, oh, I don't know what you're talking about, or you know what? You're right. Why am I doing this? You know, you usually get confronted on it at some point. People don't usually go their entire lives this way.
Yeah. And I want to say, maybe not in the reveling, but the enjoyment of someone taking care of you, I think is a human thing. I think the vast majority of us don't enjoy being sick, but I think it appeals to some base human nature that we don't mind if someone else is taking care of us. It's the abuse of that. It's the manipulation of that creates some problems. But just the notion of wanting to be taken care of, I think like all things, it's in moderation. It's fine.
Anybody that's had kids has seen this happen time and time again. And you get to the point, I can tell you right now, my daughter, when she does that, we just brush it aside. And that also, though, instills a sense of discretion where we recognize, okay, is she faking this? Or, and I don't mean that consciously, although for little kids, a lot of times they will. It's not just whether or not they're faking it, but, okay, what's the severity level? What's the gauge here? Are we at a 4, at a 5? You know, if we're at a 9 or 10, you usually know it because they're like barely moving. But other than that, it's a judgment call. And unfortunately, we can't do anything psionic, so it's not like I know for sure whether or not it's true. And sometimes we, not just with kids, but as human beings, we may make a mistake one way or the other. We may say this person has cried wolf so many times, you know what, I'm not going to respond to it. And then something bad happens, like, oh my God, why did I do that? So now we're sucked right back in and we're back to square one. Exactly.
And I think it's a very human thing to, again, end up in those types of situations, not that you're necessarily the one who's abusing it, but to end up in those types of situations that can potentially be abused. But it's a part of growth and maturity to understand that and to not take advantage of the situation, whether you're the person who's sick or whether you're the person who's providing the care. So that was Mary. Now on to Typhoid. Typhoid is hypersexual and impulsive, and she's very aggressive about that. She knows she has the abilities. She uses them to her advantage. She doesn't give a damn about the results. She doesn't care about who she uses. She's, I don't want to say pure id, but she's very close to, does it work for me? You know, what are my needs in this moment, and how can I manipulate those around me to accomplish my goals?
Well, you don't even necessarily have to even go to mental health to think about how that's advantageous or manipulative. In terms of espionage, the term honeypot is used. In other words, you know fully well what attracts people to you, and you use it to get what you want. That's something that, once again, humans do all the time. That's nothing new. The difference, I think, with her is she craves it. There's a difference between saying, I happen to notice that when I flirt, I get what I want at a bar, as opposed to, my goodness, my whole sense of being right now is focused on who can I get into bed with. I'm not trying to make moral judgments about that. I'm just pointing out that when a person gets to that level, they start valuing things way different than the rest of society does. And that's when you start getting major conflicts with people. I'm not talking about shaming people because they want to have sex in life. I really want to make sure that there's a difference here. Because I know sometimes people get very defensive about these types of discussions. I'm not saying it's bad to have sex. I'm saying that if you are putting your physical drives and your physical motivations above all else and at the expense of other people at times, that can have negative consequences on society. I don't think there's anything controversial about that.
I don't think so either. But, you know, given the dialogue and given the culture that we're in today, not necessarily in a bad way, but you just need to clarify those things. Now, it's funny, though, that you mentioned the honeypot and the seducing, because I want to bring it back to when she was initially hired by Wilson Fisk to manipulate Daredevil. When Mary is trying to seduce Matt Murdock, she portrays herself as someone working for the blind, that she's, I forget, I think there was something with the SPCA. No, I'm sorry. That's the SPCA is a Spawn thing. I've been reading back and forth for Typhoid and Spawn as well, and so I'm cheating for next week's episode. But so she references that she's from the blind and she's playing to Matt's strengths or weaknesses, as it were. And yet I find that that's a very Typhoid thing to do, but Mary is in control or what have you. So I think it's a scenario where Typhoid drew up the plan and then had Mary execute it.
That's an interesting point. I hadn't considered that.
Because I don't think that type of thing, that kind of mentality is the type of thing that Mary would have done. Mary is not a manipulative person, but Typhoid sure as hell is.
I'm going to tweak that. Mary is not intentionally manipulative. That sick roll thing, that is a manipulation at times.
Fair point.
But it's not intentional. And once again, it's more to draw things for herself in the sense of take care of my basic needs. Whether or not you consider sexual gratification to be basic needs, I'm not going to get into that debate. But Typhoid has her own set of values. And she's, as you've already said, she's aggressive. She wants to take extra steps. If a person is not coming to her, she will go after them, and hard. She apparently has the ability to also psionically manipulate the situation. So it's not just a matter of, well, if you don't like me from the start, I'll make sure that you like me one way or another.
Yeah. And again, we've seen her do that, you know, on a number of occasions. But therein lies the thing. When Mary's in control, Mary does not have psionic abilities. Mary does not have control of the psionic abilities or the telekinesis. So Mary was not responsible for seducing Matt Murdock with anything other than her own knowledge. Now, Typhoid had the ability to manipulate Daredevil. She could throw off his radar. She could mess with his ability to read where she was and what it was that she was doing. Mary didn't have access to that. Mary straight up took Matt Murdock away from Karen Page with nothing more than a sob story about the blind kid and playing to his soft spot, because Matt Murdock has a soft spot a mile wide.
That's an excellent point.
But again, I think the plan, at least from my perspective and my headcanon, so to speak, the plan was concocted by Typhoid and enacted by Mary.
Excellent hypothesis.
But that's just me. You know,
that's fair.
Feel free to @ me or, email us, capesonthecouch@gmail.com, or you can shoot us a Facebook message or a Twitter, either on the official account or my Anthony Sitko Twitter account. Let me know what your thoughts are on that.
I'll also add, and I'll admit this isn't just specifically about Typhoid, this is a larger issue in general, but the characterization often indicates that it's usually men that are the targets of this, where men are so focused on the physical that the best way to manipulate them is through romanticizing things or sexualizing things. And that wasn't the way it really happened with Daredevil, with Matt Murdock. It was much more on the interpersonal and major motivational drives that he had at the time. I think that's a more unique characterization, because I think it's just become this common
trope.
Yeah. Just I'll go beyond trope.
Men only think about one thing.
Yeah. That basically, and it's the same thing when it comes to discussions about how women dress or how women should act or all the other parts of feminism that people think are so negative. Like, oh my goodness, you have to make sure you dress a certain way because otherwise men can't control themselves. Like, well, excuse me, I'll admit, I don't understand why that's a concern one way, but not the other way. I don't understand the lack of balance. I know it's because societally we've done it for centuries, but still, I find it strange. I'm saying this since I was a little kid. I always thought that was strange. Take responsibility, men, please. Okay, I'm sorry.
Well, I think one of the things that helps is because it's written by a woman, and Nocenti is a woman, so she's going to not ostensibly take that tact and say, oh, well, just because she's a woman, she's going to use her body to seduce. Typhoid does, but Mary does not.
Right.
Now, again, with the Typhoid, just on the last thing, and I mentioned this earlier in the background, Typhoid tries to seduce Kingpin, and he doesn't go along with it. And he gives her a strong pimp hand repeatedly. I'm just using that because that's literally how it's drawn. He's backhanding her. And then she's like, I like it. Hit me again. Please hit me again. So she's got the whole masochistic, please beat me because that gets me off. But I find it interesting that she tries to seduce Kingpin like she does everyone else. And Kingpin does not go along with it, because if there's one thing you can say about Wilson Fisk, it's he's very strong-minded.
Well, also, it goes back to motivation again. What's Kingpin's motivation? And we know it. It's power. That's it. He wants to be in control at all times. So the idea of anything sexual going on is true and accurate. But his point is it's going to be on his terms and his way. So after I just said all that, come on, men, take charge. Like, don't take that kind of charge, please. Oh my goodness.
First you get the money, then you get to power. Once you get the motherfucking power, then mother will respect you.
Wow.
Money, power, respect is key to life. Money, power, respect got you eating right.
Shout out to the Locks. Shout out to DMX.
It's probably the first time someone shouted out the Locks in probably 15 years.
Oh, wow. Man, if my tires are slashed by the time I get home, I'm blaming you.
Have you seen the neighborhood I live in? No one's slashing your tires.
If they see what I look like, maybe they will.
Oh, so not touching that one with a 39.5-foot pole. Bloody Mary. Bloody Mary is Typhoid's worst qualities amped up to 11. She is sadistic. She is completely misandrous, and she has no qualms about taking out any men she feels are even remotely abusive. And it's just a straight up, you're not even worthy of justice. There's no arrest. There's no nothing. It's, I'm gonna kill you. And that's that. So I don't know how you want to address that.
It's interesting that after I said everything and I did mean what I said about men needing to be able to handle themselves in certain situations. Men don't deserve to be just automatically killed. I'll start with that basic point. After that, it becomes more an issue of her sense of control. She wants any threat eliminated without thought. She loves the idea that other people are experiencing pain and suffering. That's the definition of sadism. If she wanted to dial that back for the sake of having other goals, she doesn't usually express it. So often she's putting herself as public enemy number one, because no one, regardless of what your stances are about a situation, no one's going to just stand by and get hurt.
And now all I can hear in my head is Chuck D, but continue.
And in the back of my head when I made the comment, I'm like, is he gonna really think of public
enemy number one?
Yeah.
One.
Yeah. Okay.
I was going to say Bloody Mary would have taken out Harvey Weinstein, Bill Cosby, Louis C.K. She probably would have killed Aziz Ansari. I mean, really, any number of abusers.
Hey.
Kevin Spacey.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't
know. Would she have taken out Kevin Spacey? Because Kevin Spacey only seemed to hit on young men. Does her protection extend to men abusing other men, or would she only take out men who prey on women? What would she do about Asia Argento?
Ooh, wow. I would say she would still take them out because it's an opportunity to take someone out. I think there are dual goals there. In other words, I think the idea of taking someone out, the violence, the murder, the all of the aspects of that go along with what she already wanted to do and her view of men, but it's an added opportunity, added excuse. That's the way I've read it. I mean, if people have other opinions about it, they're certainly welcome to express them as well. And I do want to hear that feedback. As a matter of fact, I'm sorry, a little side thing. I do want more feedback about this. And I want it constructively. You don't have to just say that we suck. You can do that too. But I'm saying, if we can start getting more of a dialogue, we can really start to flesh this out in a way that creates much more of a great community to discuss these issues with characters as well as with mental illness as a whole. That's the ultimate goal of this. So with someone like her, I'm making the claim that her sadism overrides just the misandry, as opposed to saying that her hatred of men, as long as they're hurting other men, that would override the sadism. Who knows which one is right? I'm just making my best educated guess.
So with Bloody Mary around, there would be no need for a Me Too movement, because as soon as she finds out about it, she's going to take him out. And not that there's no need for a Me Too movement, but it would be a lot shorter because
I'm sure
the abusers would just die.
She'd make sure that every bullet had #MeToo on it as it was going through their skulls.
Yeah. That sounds fair.
Yeah.
So, way to be topical. So, treatment in universe, it's been tried. She was in the institution. She called upon mercenaries to break her out, kill her, what have you.
I should just say this with anyone with psionic abilities. Why do people not use Magneto's helmet? Just start with that. Please protect yourself, and then I think we would have a greater ability. It's ridiculous that people go in totally blind to what someone like Typhoid is able to do. And of course, Bloody, wow, I don't know where to go with that.
Well, the thing about Magneto's helmet is she could remove it with telekinesis.
Oh, man, why you got to rain on my parade like that?
I'm just telling you like it is, man. If she sees you got the helmet on, she's going to say, well, boop, that's coming off.
Okay. But honestly, that wasn't even germane to my real treatment plan. And that
goddamn Germans got nothing to do with it. Smokey and the Bandit, sorry.
So, I would try and keep Mary, quote unquote, in charge as much as possible, because I think that would be the most productive route to go. Mary is the one that would be willing to listen to another person, let alone take any advice. She may not be able to implement it in a productive way immediately, because she usually focuses so much on all the problems that she already has, but at least I can have that conversation. I can't have that conversation with Typhoid, and I'm not even trying to have a conversation with Bloody for obvious reasons. Any hint that Bloody comes out, and I'm asking for any hero that can save me. That's really the way I would approach it. In other words, think of it as a traffic light, basically. Green light when Mary's available, because I can talk to her. Yellow light using serious caution when it's typhoid. Red light when it's bloody. Which kind of fits, I guess.
Womp womp. So out of universe, we've discussed, let's focus on trying to treat Mary, because we've done the multiple personalities again ad infinitum. How would you deal with someone like a Mary who is the meek, mousy, and there's nothing wrong with being, shy and quiet, but when it becomes to the detriment of yourself as a person, that's when you incur problems. So how would you address Mary to give her a little more self-confidence so that she takes more control of her life and herself?
You need to have that person find their voice, and that can be very difficult to do when the person thinks they don't have a voice to begin with. They're that either sullen or depressed. But when the person describes their previous experiences, try and look for the areas where they had positive events, because they exist. They may not think they exist. They may have pushed them to the side for a long, long time. But when you find one, you grab onto it and you have them put themselves back in that spot and say, okay, what did you sound like? How did the other person respond? Is that something that's repeatable? Because the other thing is they'll say, well, that happened before, but it can never happen again. And that's not true. That's a fallacy. So once you get them to recognize, okay, I can actually have positive interactions and it doesn't necessarily have to do with what's wrong with me, then you make progress. All the time, you have to do that while acknowledging that there is an illness. In other words, it's usually not total hypochondriasis where they're making up symptoms or they're making up a disease. There is something that is wrong, but that's a balancing act. It doesn't have to be the be-all, end-all. Even in the most debilitated state, you can have an interaction that doesn't involve your illness, talking to someone, even if that's the first step. Once you get to that point, then you can actually ask the regular questions that we do in conversation. What's your hobbies? What do you like? What do you enjoy? How's your family? All those other things. But you don't just introduce it from the start, because that'll shut them down. You start with their illness and you point out some of the areas where it seemed like, wow, you know what? You mentioned that you stay in bed all the time. You did describe, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this, you did describe, when you got up and went to the bathroom yesterday. I mean, how did you manage to get out of bed? And it sounds like a very strange thing to ask, but the truth is, if the person says like, oh, well, that took a lot of strength, that took a lot of effort, I'm like, I'm glad it took a lot of effort. That's impressive. So you're capable of that type of effort at least once. Can you do that again tomorrow? And just building from each step. That's usually how I approach those things. And as with many times, people I'm sure are tired of hearing this part, it takes time.
I was just about to say, so many treatment options that you've described for the different, whether it's this or any of the number of characters that we've done, is building from the small steps. And a lot of times things that we may take for granted as quote unquote normative people, we may take some of these things for granted, that we can get up and go and move about freely, that we have agency whenever, wherever, and do things that we choose. Whether you're depressed or whether you're under a number of mental illnesses, you may not feel that you have that agency and you may not feel that you have that strength. So for you and I to talk about this, we may take it for granted, but understand truthfully that it is not an easy thing to deal with day in and day out, and that there are people who wish they had that freedom and that strength. And those are the kinds of things that you build upon.
Yeah. The practical description I can give for this, really straightforward. It's a little gross, but it gets the job done in terms of how people can conceptualize this. Let's say you haven't brushed your teeth in a week and you want to get back into the habit of brushing your teeth after every meal. That's a huge gap. How on earth would you get a person to start? You would tell them just brush one tooth. That's it. And then you just build on however many you can do at that time and however many times you can do in a day. And then are you doing it with every meal? You just keep building step by step by step by step. And I'm not pretending that I brush my teeth after every meal. OK, I'm just saying, if you have large goals and you're starting from a very debilitated point, it's OK to go slow, one step at a time. Don't get discouraged even when you have a mistake or a backstep. It's okay. Just keep trying one step at a time.
Yeah. I'm training for half marathon, and it's after not having run for a while. And I know that I can't just go back into my old routines and my old patterns. I have to build up my endurance again. I know it's, not exactly the same, but it's somewhat applicable. Mm-hmm. So now we've finished with the treatment options, and let's see if we remember how to do this. Let's see if we remember how we handle these things. What happens when Mary Walker ends up on Dr. Issues' couch?
Hello, Mary. I'm Dr. Issues.
Oh, hello, Doctor. I hope you can help me.
I'll do my best. What seems to be the trouble?
I don't know why I'm in here. Everyone treats me like I'm dangerous, but I haven't done anything to anyone. Can you please help me get out of here? I just want to go home.
Well, I can certainly understand you wanting to go home, but I'll be honest with you. People don't end up seeing me unless there's a very clear problem.
Then can you explain it to me? Because since I've arrived, I've done nothing but sit in my room, and yet the doctors and nurses act like I'm a threat to them.
You do seem to be under a lot of stress. Have you had problems with anxiety or depression?
Not recently. I mean, I've had issues in the past, but I find that if I just focus on my art, then I feel much better about myself.
Excellent. It sounds like you have a pretty good coping mechanism there. But help me understand, what issues did you overcome?
Well, I was suicidal for a time. I just felt lost, and there was no one around to understand me. I tried my art, but I kept finding these drawings and paintings that I didn't do. They were very violent and scary. I have no idea where they came from.
I drew them, you simpering wuss.
But I never consider myself to be a wuss.
Oh, I wasn't talking to you, you bloviating gas bag. I was talking about the weakling Mary who was in control. God, I can't stand her. But now Typhoid is on top, and she's not going back.
And now I see why you're here in the first place. Judging by your introduction, I don't think you even want treatment then.
Hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I can't say the same for your face.
Look, I'm just an innocent bystander. And wait a minute, you're the one who said Mary was weak. I'm just trying to help her build strength.
Oh, don't bother. You'd be wasting your time. But I have some ideas to put that big brain of yours to good use. And if the rest of you works as well as that brain and mouth, then I'm in for a real good time.
All right, I'll just lock the door and turn off the lights, and we can get down to...
What is happening? What are you doing?
Wait, what?
I was in the darkness again for a while, but I fought my way back. Why are you so close to me now?
I don't know what happened.
I'm feeling very uncomfortable. Maybe I should go.
Yeah, go back to where you came from and stay there.
At least Mary has the decency to treat me like a real human being.
It's cute that you think you have the power in this scenario. It's like watching a Yorkie try to fight a Doberman. And in case it wasn't clear here, I'm the Doberman. And if you think my bark is fierce, honey, you really don't want to see my bite.
And understand that if we're talking about a pack of dogs, I'm the alpha male.
Did you just threaten a woman? You think because you have a penis that gives you the right to take control? Oh, Bloody Mary's going to teach you about real control.
It's not about being a man or... Wait. Did you just say Bloody Mary?
Kiss your ass goodbye, patriarchal scum.
If it makes you feel better, I wish my mom was here right now. Help!
Are you okay, man? Are all your parts together? Do you need an ice pack?
I think I need a shot of testosterone. Like, now. Because I just got emasculated, and I'm not going to say how.
Oof. All right, watch Gunga Din and at least 3 John Wayne movies. And drink a beer, nothing light. And none of those IPAs either. You know, something manly. And
alcohol does not raise testosterone levels. That's a myth.
Oh, okay then. I legitimately didn't know that. That's actually interesting to learn.
Once again, if you happen to learn something, keep it to yourself, people.
I don't think that's how it works here. I don't think that's the message we want to give to our listeners. But
of course not. Of course not. The point being, though, yeah, that was a little scary. And the first thought I had was of the best female figure I could think of, other than my wife and my daughter.
There you go. So that's going to wrap it up for Typhoid Mary. We'll find out, I guess, after Iron Fist comes out. We'll see how they've portrayed Typhoid Mary, and we'll see how they interact and deal with the character, and what Alice Eve brings to the role, and how they bring her into deal with the immortal Iron Fist, sworn protector of Kunlun, and sworn enemy of the Hand.
And if you don't watch it, then we really don't care either way. But hey, give it a try for Typhoid Mary's sake.
Next week, we're going to do Spawn at the request of Brian, our one of our presidents on Patreon. And then the following week, to tie in with The Gifted, returning for season 2 on Fox, we're going to do the Stepford Cuckoos. Then after that, we're going to do Ra's al Ghul. And then in the tie-in for The Walking Dead season 7, 8, 9, whatever it is, premiere, whatever it is, the week of that episode, October 3rd, that's where we're going to have the poll. We will keep the poll open until the Sunday before. And that's when we'll determine. So we'll close it on, I guess, the Saturday. And then, Saturday at midnight is when we'll close the poll. And that's when we will know which character we're going to do. Rick Grimes, Negan, or the governor. So get your votes in now. There'll be a Google form. It's going to be posted on our website, capesonthecouch.live, as well as our Facebook and Twitter accounts, and you can start voting. Also, go to extra-life.org and search for my name, Anthony Sitko, and please donate to my fundraiser page. If I raise $1,000 in the month of September, I will shave my head. And as of the recording, I'm already 10% there. So I just have $900 to go. So that's that. You can find this episode on our website, capesonthecouch.live, distributed through the Libsyn Network, Google Play, iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, YouTube, and the iHeartRadio network. Doc, anything you want to add before we leave?
The things that I learned from this episode: try to be a better man, learn how to treat a woman, and help Anthony for the kids.
I like all of that. So for Doc Issues, I'm Anthony Sitko. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you next week.
Capes on the Couch podcast is for entertainment purposes only. Dr. Issues is a psychiatrist, but he is not your psychiatrist and does not have knowledge of your individual situation. For any personal mental health concerns, please consult your own healthcare providers. For medical emergencies, please call 911 or the designated number in your area immediately. Remember that you are not alone and help is out there.